So like I said, Tim's going to be presenting today an introduction more in detail when it comes to the framework for design excellence, which is something we are here at Full Design applying across the board. Before I give it up to him, I wanted to let you guys know that we've already updated our contracts. And as you will see in our contracts, there is a section that highlights in bold some of the elements that we believe or deem necessary or more applicable to a particular project. So when you first start a project, as you all know, the first thing you do is to read the contract. Everybody should always read the contract. So once you read the contract, you're going to see which one of those items have been highlighted. And ideally, we are pairing you with a project that is either something that you're interested in or a project that is your forte or your interest as a aspiring architect, designer, senior designer. So that's the first step. And from there, that's the same thing the team's going to look at. That's the same thing that Julio's going to ask you which one of the framework elements are going to be introduced. It's no coincidence that the item that Julio selected is called Design for Integration, because really it's how all of these things come together in a concept, you know. So and that's the same one I picked, by the way. So we are all walking this together. We're learning how to apply it, and Tim's gonna, you know, continue to lead the effort. Tim, take it away.
All right, are you guys able to hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, excellent.
Yes.
So I will ask for one favor throughout the this presentation, is that you keep your cameras on. You all have absolutely beautiful faces and smiles. I would like to interact with that as we continue. Yes, there we go. There we go. There we go. Look at that. There we go. Awesome. So once again, for those of you who do not know me, my name is Tim Mulinge, and I will be presenting starting this initiative of the AIA, implementing the AIA framework for design excellence into our system. I know you probably have heard this conversation going around in the office. You've probably overheard Darwin presenting it in various meetings, but it's about time that we start to implement it in our process. I want to start by saying that this is not something new. This is not a absolutely new concept that we're going to start learning. Most of these things, after researching all of them, most of these things are things we already know. Most of these things are things that we're already doing. We just haven't put a title to it yet. So like, let it not be that much alarming, and let's just embrace this change. It'll make us better. It will make us more credible as a architecture firm. And so I want to start by this phrase that says every line drawn should be a source of good in the world, right? This phrase just enforces the idea that each of our designs should be well thought of and backed and supported by a higher level of purpose, intentionality, caution, concern, and care for the built environment as a whole. So what is AIA's framework for design excellence? The AIA's framework for design excellence is a set of principles and guidelines that promotes high quality, sustainable, and equitable design in architecture. It focuses on key areas that contribute to overall design excellence. The framework serves as a roadmap for architects and designers to create spaces that are not only functional and beautiful, but also equitable and sustainable. Right? Most of the times we walk into projects, just throw in a couple of elements here and there just because the client requests it for or because it best fits, but it makes the project have more meaning when it's backed with a lot of logic and methodology towards what, you know, the approach that you're taking to it. And the framework for design excellence aims to elevate the profession by setting a high standard for design practices. And the origin of the framework, as we all know, the world today confronts a variety of broad and complex challenges that keep on evolving and adding on to each other every day, that threaten every aspect of our lives, from environmental issues to social inequities, these challenges are interwoven and demand our attention as designers. The traditional call for architects in this profession and designers is to protect health, safety, and welfare of the public, which now carries a new and broader meaning. We must recognize that our work is not just about designing buildings anymore, right? But about creating environments that foster well-being and resilience in the face of increasing climate extremes and social disparities. And so this is where our profession has a unique opportunity. Architects can harness the power of design to, to contribute to meaningful solutions that address the most pressing needs of our time. Our creativity, each and every one of our creativity in this office and expertise can be directed towards making real difference. Every project we undertake is not just about aesthetics anymore or functionality. It's a platform to tackle big issues, whether it's sustainability, equity, or community health. The purpose of the framework is to represent the defining principles of good design in the 21st century. It is comprised of 10 straightforward principles that are in the AIA's website. A link was sent earlier on when Darwin was introducing this concept to us, and I will send it again in following emails. But it is comprised of 10 straightforward principles, all accompanied by critical, searching questions for the designer that are to be considered and incorporated into the work as thoughtfully as possible. When you peruse through the website for the AIA, you will see that most of the homework in regards to all of these 10 principles has already been done. The questions that need to be asked, what you need to be looking forward to, or to be looking for as a designer, all of that is explained on the website. The framework exists to help designers broaden their thinking, expose designers to new angles and perspectives, and uncover what might have been missed. The framework seeks to inform progress towards a zero carbon, equitable, resilient, and healthy built environment. Challenges architects and designers. The framework challenges architects and designers with a vision of what the profession strives to achieve. The framework injects an extra dose of purpose and intentionality to a day-to-day conduct. It shifts our perspective as we, move into new projects, and we no longer have the same perspective that we did 3-4 months back, but it's backed with more intentionality. And so, what are some of the examples, successful examples of implementations that other firms have done? We'll start with one project that is pretty known here in Massachusetts that most of you are well aware of, which is the John W. Oliver Design Building by Lears Wenzapfel Associates, which is an urban infill project that replaces the surface parking lot. The Oliver building strengthens the urban form of the campus, improving walkability and connectivity while increasing the ground permeability and planting density of the site. The Oliver building, most specifically, is a social and urban integrator. From the beginning of the design process, which we will start implementing in our process, a uniquely collaborative relationship between the design team, the client, and builders and building users enables the development of a collective space that goes beyond the program requirements. This process resulted in a building that serves as a teaching tool, and it bridges the disciplines of architecture, landscape architecture, and building technologies. A most recent example that this paragraph, or what I just said, can be showed is in yesterday's meeting when Marcus, Jose, and I were meeting with the church project, and it was a group of board members from the church, and everyone had their own voice and pitch that they had to bring into the project. And so it's just a collaborative, what that talks about is a collaborative effort between we, the designers, the architects, and the people who are going to be using the buildings. And this project, at a campus scale, the design building also served as a connector and a mediator for two campus sites, formal large scale to the west and small-scale historic campus of the east. It's, as you can, is anyone able to see my mouse? Right. So this central piece, this central element connects the two sides together, which is a precedent that I actually used for the church project that we did yesterday, Darwin, if you could remember. But those are the points in terms of integration and community. Now, economically speaking, the driving mission of the project was to bring three dispersed academic departments together in a single integrated building, an approach embracing more with less. A robust cost-benefit analysis guided design decisions that were made at every stage and made it possible through early feasibility studies, a series of energy efficiency measures addressing both envelope and systems were evaluated at such subsequent design phases, looking at initial cost, annual energy savings, and life cycle impacts. And measures that were addressed both first and life cycle costs were adopted throughout the entire project. The next project that you'll see is the Microsoft Silicon Valley campus by WRNS Studio. This is one of my favorite projects because it touches a little bit of about what we should be doing here at Flow Design Architects. Not what we should be doing, but what should be for us. So responding to the ASHRAE Zon 3C, I think most of you know what the ASHRAE is all about. If not, a link can be sent in regards to that at the same time. The high performance building envelope includes a composite roof value of R46, largely due to the mass timber construction. With 9 separate stairwells, the site encourages engagement with nature by providing easy access to the green roof, experience bay views, and traversing through the campus, promoting physical movement in the workspace and spontaneous interaction with the people that you're working with. Operable windows at the courtyards act as lungs for the neighborhoods, reducing mechanical ventilation demands by approximately 20%. Decoupled heating, cooling, and ventilation support efficiency with the primary DOAS system paired with radiant heating and cooling, which is embedded into the building. The existing buildings have upgraded exterior walls, high efficiency glazing, and VAV systems that leverage existing interior duct distributions. On the scale, looking at the well-being, the wellness is at the heart of the MSV campus, with its multi-courtyard organizational concept providing access to daylight and fresh air for every individual and encouraging movement for the workers and discovery throughout. The courtyard doors and operable windows within 25 feet of every workspace promote good air quality. Task lights, shades, ceiling fans, and mobile furniture support occupant control, and well concepts pursued include enhanced ventilation, pollution filtration, and physical activity promotion. The site in itself, as you can see from the picture, encourages engagement with nature on the roofs, patio, and creek edge. Along with other things, what am I trying to point out, or what challenge am I posing to our principals, right? In other words, don't you think flow offices would function better if we had nap rooms, panic rooms, service dogs, and a little golf green area? I think this would just be a place for Julio to practice boxing once in a while, you know? It will help to enhance it will help to enhance the working experience and the living experience in every workspace, not just for Microsoft Silicon Valley campus. Next is a housing response created by Design for Change. Is in response to Hurricane Katrina by Kieran Timberlake. This house was designed for the Make It Right Foundation to provide storm-resistant, affordable, and sustainable housing options for the residents of the New Orleans Lower Ninth Ward displaced by Hurricane Katrina. The large amount of glazing on the southeast and west facades, coupled with a 10-foot ceiling, allows for significant daylighting. Excessive glare from low western sun is effectively moderated through occupant-controlled external shading devices that are fully compliant with the hurricane-rated windows. Decks on the front and back of the roof of the house provide ample access to outdoor space for fresh air. These spaces ensure that the occupant can take advantage of the comfortable climate of New Orleans. If any of you have ever been to New Orleans, you will know that that place is hot as hell. The prototype home, as you can see in the image, was designed so that specific needs for individual homeowners could be met without impacting systems or requiring a total redesign of the entire house. The design offers a number of options in a range of sizes, including options for a number of bedrooms and bathrooms, with a provision for a studio apartment in the back of the house, or the possibility of a party wall configuration. The design planned for factory-built versions to be comprised of panelized and modular components, and aspects of which will be designed for disassembly as needed. The next project that we're going to see is Asilong Christian High School in West Pokot, Kenya, by the BNIM firm. And this project was actually used as a precedent, and I'll talk about it in a couple of minutes. As the Asilong Christian High School, the BNIM continually balanced first cost against long-term benefits, leading to decisions such as purchasing a brick machine so that local laborers can make high-quality bricks, reducing transportation costs during construction, and developing a local skilled workforce. Now, this is a project that I used as a precedent, and I reached out to the partners and worked with them for my senior thesis, which explored the spatial potential in informal settlements in the case of Kibera, Kenya, Kibera being one of the largest informal settlements in Africa. For this project, I designed and obtained a provisional patent for a brick design which would become the fabric of the new community of the Kibera slums once it would be fully rehabilitated. The design of the interlocking bricks using earth as the primary material enables the residents to build faster, build cheaper, and build better. The proposal tackled collaborative design with the residents, well-being, the economy and self-sustenance of the community, and bridging social boundaries, and so much more. As you can see from this GIF, the structure, this is the mold that would be used, or that was used, to create the bricks. When assembled, the brick wall is a structure in itself. However, its form allows for structural reinforcement through the openings if needed, and it's a mortar-free form of construction with a chase system built into the design of the brick that allows for the running of plumbing and wiring through the brick. This design functions better in equatorial spaces, for example, in Kibera, Kenya, where you don't have issues of insulation, but that could also, the brick could be modified to fit any other setting that you would expect it to fill. The brick variations. The brick form is versatile and allows for a wide range of variations. One single mold can generate about 9 variations of the brick that facilitates different types of designs and movements, from staircases to Nubian domes to pavers and many more. At the larger village scale, the brick is used to build houses and spaces where collaboration takes place. The success of this project is tied back to the brick, a product, a transformative tool that becomes currency, reimagines the fabric of Kianda village, which was the village that was my test subject. And it introduces spatial efficiency, breathability, enhances stability, productivity, and creativity, while empowering people to attain economical and familial prosperity. This is one of the renderings from the projects, from the housing methods that I did. And the spaces that will be created will be used to open more educational spaces, create spaces for expression and creativity, which is a very common theme in the Kibera slums, and it will facilitate cultural and economic exchange. This is another rendering. Currently, the project, the senior thesis project, is an ongoing conversation. The design is being perfected by a team of professors from Wentworth and professionals, and also some, bless you, and also some mentors. And the implementation conversations are underway with a number of sponsors, leaders, and organizations back in Kenya. The goal is for the patent of the brick eventually and all other forms of ownership to be transferred back to the people of Kianda upon completion. By enabling active participation and giving them the tools, historical iniquities stemming from colonialism are addressed. The brick assumes personal significance, becoming an emblem of legacy and ownership, which offers a direct pathway to self-determination, free from the cycle of colonization and westernization. So I put this project here because it goes past architectural response and speaks into how architecture can be used to influence uh, laws and create a system where we can design better communities in the disparities that are present. And so switching from that is the same topic that is within my interest, which is design for equitable communities, which, you know, as designers, creating and building equitable communities is essential in our work, right? The challenges around equity appear in both public and private sectors and require strategic approaches to tackle them. Our focus should essentially be on breaking down barriers and helping people connect and thrive. The human experience revolves around access and connection. And as a minority firm, that isn't a new concept to us, right? It's not a strange concept to us, and we are not strangers to these barriers in society. And it is important for us to pay attention to those who face greater obstacles due to physical or social issues. And so, critical questions for the designers as you are exploring and designing for equitable communities. A study was done, to tie into what I just said in my past slide. A study was done in some states in America, and the conclusion was that minority and low-income neighborhoods struggle to stay cool as summer temperatures climb. Right? We just are concluding the summer season. It was moderately hot, but minority communities have it hotter, have it worse than other communities. During hot seasons, people of color and low-income residents are affected the most due to decades of discriminatory housing policies that have deprived minority neighborhoods of resources, making it harder to stay cool, Dorchester being one of them. In 2022, a Boston University analysis of 115 metropolitan areas from San Jose, California to Louisville in Kentucky and Hartford, Connecticut found that air conditioning was less likely to be available in places with more residents who identify as either Black or African American or Hispanic or Latino. While the provision of air conditioners isn't the only response to this issue, the solution lies in the incorporation of green spaces, open spaces, cross ventilation, and other architectural solutions that can be embedded into our projects. We work a lot with projects situated in underserved communities, right? Especially in the Boston area, where all of these strategies and more can be implemented moving forward. So what are the focus topics of the principle, right? What are the community scale issues beyond the project? What we have explored an idea of this in the previous slide, right? Creating spaces that foster community engagement and empowerment and bring social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. In turn, this will bring community resilience, mobility, and access. It will foster and enhance the community engagement and empowerment in the long run. And so the implementation toolkit and best practices, the purpose is to engage with the communities to design solutions that have a positive impact on the people and populations. We embrace local knowledge and understand social, economic, and environmental impacts and create resilient design solutions. Sorry, resilient design solutions. And we use every project to build capacity within the community. Consider the issue of displacement, right? As we talk about equitable communities, consider the issue of displacement. If the project may cause displacement in a community, find equitable ways to address these issues, right? Assemble a team with a diverse backgrounds and perspectives to develop creative and innovative solutions. Design solutions that are often more comprehensive and equitable are more comprehensive and equitable when a wide range of people with different experiences are represented in the team. For example, in the project that we just presented yesterday for the church, I had conversations with Marcos. He has a different experience with church than I do. I had the conversation with Julio, not because he's the design director, but he's also familiar with these spaces. I also had the conversation with Nicole, and she gave me her perspective of how these spaces are supposed to be, how these spaces could function and how they could be used. And that just creates, by having a diverse team, which we do have here at Flow Design, it enables you to have a richer design for your client, and in return, as a whole, we will just have better work. And so why is this important at Flow? Also, this implementation toolkit and best practices, there's an entire list of it that you can read on the website. I'll send a link to that. And so why is this, why implement this at Flow Design? Well, the framework aligns with the firm's mission to promote equity, encourage designers that address the needs of diverse communities, and amplify underrepresented voices, which again is the sole purpose of Flow Design Studio, excuse me. Community engagement. It provides tools for meaningful engagement within the community and ensures that designs reflect local needs and cultural values. Sustainability. The framework highlights sustainable practices, allowing the firm to contribute to environmental stewardship while contribute to building a more equitable, resilient, healthy, and a zero carbon future. Reputation and recognition, right? By aligning with the AIA standards, the firm can enhance its credibility and visibility, attracting more clients and also quality clients and opportunities. It will also help with networking and resources. Utilizing the framework opens doors for a network of professionals and resources, fostering collaboration and innovation within the architectural community. Throughout the research process, as we look at all the other principles, we will start to develop a catalog of professionals that we will be collaborating with, that they can talk to us and that we can also reach out to them if we have projects in the same regard. So it will build our network and our resource portfolio. And it stands with our commitment to quality. The framework emphasizes high design standards, which help the firm create impactful, sustainable, functional, and aesthetically pleasing projects. And most of all, why implement this at Flow? We are a very young group of people, right? We are very young with active minds, and these fundamentals are important in order for us to build our expertise in this profession. Also, small firms, it's a survey and the research that was conducted that small firms adapt to change quickly. So the implementation of this, we will have an easier time doing it with the people that we have now, as opposed to a larger firm. And there is room for progressive improvement. So what I urge is that just start now and start with what you know. And the vocabulary and capacity to do all things will be built up as we progress. And so I had a copy of the survey that we did, and some of the concerns that each and every one of you voiced out, I was able to look at it and see how we could, tackle these issues. And some of the concerns were getting the proper information, client adaptation, more time being added on projects, and time during training. Now, for the right information, the AIA again has a plethora of rich information on their website. And also it has their websites link different firms that have incorporated these principles into their work, and we can see how they have used that, how successful they have been, their failures of which, and how we can learn from that in total, right? So the information is there. We already know what most of these things are, right? We've learned them, we've done them in architecture school. We just haven't seen them in this perspective. And also the other thing that will help with the right information is research and conversation, right? Today I've only lightly presented on one of these principles. I had intended to present on all of them, but it will be more effective if each and every one of you, based on what you put as your interests, you research that topic and we have a conversation and explore the possibilities in that topic. That way, as you do the research, we meet and have conversation have conversation around. Client adaptation was another issue for many of us here. And so one thing I'd want to tell or to enforce in the project that I have already started to use these principles is that the clients are actually interested in these things, right? Most, if not all of the clients that I have worked with, well, some of them come with what they want. This is what I want. This is what, if you want to enforce them, they're very rigid on it, but it still can be implemented in the next step. For example, if you provide it at the design step and you see that they're very resistant towards it, the same principles can be added during the permitting process as we continue to specify the fixtures that we're using, right? But generally, the clients are interested in these things. Yesterday, during our church presentation, it was evident that they pay attention to connection, they pay attention to the economic aspect of it, they pay attention to integration, how all the spaces work together and connect together. And also that's just a large scale project, but also on a smaller scale, there's a project that I'm doing, 4D Church Street, with Matthew, where we're exploring the possibilities of having a green roof, right? You'd be surprised but by how much research most of these clients do before contacting Flow Design, right? And they come with the knowledge of what they want to achieve, which aligns with the AIA framework for design excellence. So the clients are interested in these things, and it's also our responsibility to educate our clients on these things too. So with all of that, yes, it will add time on projects, right? Darwin and I will explain within the time to come of how this will change the approach that we have on our process. Basically, we will meet together to talk about the project before the design begins, and then you get an opportunity to design, and we meet again and talk extensively about the principles that you have tried to implement, what works, what doesn't work, and how it can be elaboratively presented to the client. And then Julio gets to look at it at the end of it all, and we can see how everything comes together. So yes, the time will have to be extended. That's on Darwin, and Marcus probably will update that on the contract. And the time on training, it's all about research and conversation. There are topics that each and every one of you express that you have an interest in, right? I will be reaching out to you after this meeting to talk about those topics, to talk about the research that you will be doing in those topics, to talk about when you will be presenting those topics, and how we can start implementing it in our curriculum, in our program.
And
And so,
so
This is to, there's someone's mic on. And so this is to mention just a few within the time that is given. But from this moment, I urge each and every one of you to conduct your own research into these ideas, and especially on each of the topics that you picked. Obviously, there's a lot of information. Pick what is of interest to you, and let's talk about it, right? When we meet, when we go to have coffee, when walking to the bathroom, let's talk about it, right? Let's have these conversations around the office. Let's have these conversations before you begin the design process, during the design process. Let's evaluate the implementation after the project is done, what was successful and what didn't work. And that's the only way that Flows designers will steer the ship to achieving design excellence. And up until that point, does anyone have any questions or concerns or anything that you'd want to point out?
Yes, I have questions.
Yes, sir.
So are we going to implement this in all the projects?
The goal will be to, there are things that we always do, that we have always been doing, right? So we'll continue to do those. There are things that we may add as we proceed. For instance, you're doing a deck. You're not gonna do design for energy on a deck, right? But what's that wood made out of? Can we look for a sustainable version of that wood? And how do you get that information? Connecting with the reps, and the reps will be giving us all of that information so that we can implement it. You know, not all of the projects will apply the 10. Just if it's a home that seems to be a good site for solar, well, let's look into what solar can do for that home. You know, it's not everything on every project, because it would not be cost effective to do it.
I know, like, you cannot fit everything in each project. I mean, if each project has to go through the framing.
Through the framework?
Excellent.
So they will go through, even if it's not evident. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are implementing the framework or in understanding the framework as you're designing, even if it is not like, hey, here I'm doing design for this or design for that. It's just that it will be part of our thinking. Like, oh, how can we be? You know how Tim mentioned that at the beginning. We've been doing all of these things. You always design these open spaces that have natural light. Well, that's designed, you know, for health, because natural light, we understand, is healthy for all of us, right? So it's really understanding how we apply those, but now we're giving them names. You know, like, now we know that we're applying design for each one of those items. You know, like, you do all of this all the time.
Well,
you know?
it's just these 10 concepts basically is design and architectural concepts. Like, you learn science at architectural school. So now just the AI give fancy names to sell it. That's the truth.
To be honest, yeah, to some extent.
That's it. Somebody says like, hey guys, I have an idea. Let's talk about this and sell it. So that's what we're going to do now.
So basically, we're not selling it from the AIA frame like point of view. We're selling it. We're implementing it. Like, one thing, just so you know, so projects now across the nation won't be considered for awards unless they apply the framework, right? So being able to actually put these name tags to these elements and knowing which ones are we missing, like, why are we missing? Why are we not looking at? So that's gonna help us be more intentional, a little bit more intentional. You know, when Tim was saying that every line drawn should be a source of good, it's not like drawing lines just for the sake of it. It's like, well, wait a minute. This brings natural light. This wood is a little more sustainable. This lighting, when we do our RCPs, maybe, you know, we do a very basic RCP, but now why don't we connect with a lighting consultant that will provide us from the lighting company lights that are LED, that are low consumption. So now we're, you know, it's just being a little bit more intentional so that we don't do the to be determined by others, to be determined by others, to be determined by others, you know. But we're getting fed that from the reps. We're going to be getting that, you know, from the reps generally. There's some other things that we're going to have to do ourselves, but that's the goal. Does that make sense? Go ahead.
I have another question. Science, when we're going to start doing this? From when?
We are already doing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've been doing it basically as a test. So Nicole, can you, is Nicole here? Yeah, she's here. Nicole, could you share your screen and show what you were doing on that project for Matt's Way?
Yeah. Give me one.
While Nicole find that, I do want to mention something, guys. Just in response to what Julio is mentioning, I think that all of us have the opportunity here, Flo, to make a difference. No, we're not going to apply all of the concepts to every single project. We know that. We know the kind of clients that we currently have. We know that there are people that really cannot afford some of these concepts. But even if you're designing a bathroom, we do elevations of bathrooms all the time, guys. The toilet, if you look at the specifications of a toilet, you could see how much water per that particular toilet uses. Why don't you in your bathrooms specify a toilet that uses less water? Now you are applying the concept of water consumption in a very simple way. And guess what? The contractor is gonna get the specifications of that toilet. Instead of saying to be determined by owner, it's gonna say to be total this and this and that. Now the contractor show that price to the owner, and they're like, oh, by the way, this toilet is very efficient, and they buy it. Who knows? But those little things make a big impact, even the smaller type of project. So we could all make a difference.
So while Nicole gets that, Nicole, let me know in the message. So I did a recent presentation at the AA New Jersey where I introduced each one of them a little bit more detail. I sent the link so that you guys can watch them. This is a presentation I will be technically doing a version of for us, but Tim's was more, here's what other firms have done, here's the big idea. But like these things, we design for integration every single day. Things have to look good and connect all together, right? So we do that all the time. So now, when we're applying for other project competitions, RFPs can say, here's the big idea. And literally that's what it is. The question on the framework, there's this thing that is a super sheet, they call it. What is the big idea? So that's actually what you even ask the design team when you're meeting. Okay, what's the big idea? What are you trying to do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
exactly.
It's just they put fancy words to sell it.
So I don't want to look at it in the sales because I just think that, to be honest, a lot of people haven't finished the school here at the office, right? Like a lot of people probably don't know all of these different things. You know it. Team graduated, knows it, like a lot of things that we know, but now we're being more intentional. So like, what's the big idea? Okay, what's the big idea? Equitable communities, what does that mean, right? How close from any transit community are we? How much do we walk? How much do we drive? So that, do we provide ramps? So now we're giving it a name. The code enforces it, but you can add a ramp to a single family home because you want to do it for, you know what I mean? Like it's us thinking about all of these so that, every time I'm looking at a project at the very beginning, that's why we highlighted on the contract. I look at it and say, oh, this person probably will need X, Y, and Z also. So we can, when we do our design options, do a basic one, and then do another design option that adds these ones a little bit more intentionally, So they talk about each one of these items and a metric for all of them on this presentation. Very simple. We don't have to go too crazy on all of them, just understand what they are. What do they mean? What's discovery? What do they mean? And the presentation that I share the link, this office talks to us about how they did it and the tools that they use and like the softwares that they use to do analysis and things like that. But this one cares so much about just like generally just energy. Like this is energy plus net zero energy, but they talk to us about that. So it would be good to kind of look at it. These are all of the different certifications that exist generally. They cost a whole lot of money, but a lot of people want to be certifiable buildings, even though that they don't certify because they have to pay to be certified, So, but if you do it using the framework, the metrics, you're going to end up with a more sustainable kind of version of them. And they did it with their own office. So I really recommend people to watch this presentation because it's kind of what Flow wants to do, like eventually own our building, own our office, and test these concepts with our own buildings. So pretty fun stuff. And we talk about like the journey that we have right now. We're just starting it right now. You know, it's like there was this thing that they mentioned at a juror. I was a juror, and they said unless they apply the framework, they won't get awards. And they were amazing, beautiful projects, but they didn't get awards. You know. Huh?
No, I'm saying, and we are gunning for.
Exactly. So, you know, we are focusing on training everybody, and this is one of the trainings. So, Nicole, can you show us what you did? Because we're testing this. We don't have a one size fits all. We don't know what the process perfectly is gonna be. But Nicole, can you share your screen and show us what you did?
Yeah, if you make me the host, I just can.
I don't know if I can make you the host. You can actually present.
Oh yeah, no, now I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I show this to.
Hold on. Before you start, share the contract real quick, if you don't mind, and tell us why you started doing that, so that everybody kind of knows how you started, right?
Mm-hmm. So I did what we usually do. I just check the contract and see like what I was supposed to do. So I just look at this right here. So yeah, that's the reason that I did my research, because I know it was on the contract, and it was like a new house, so I think it would make sense to, you know, put these elements together for a new building. So that was the reason.
And
So
then do you
after-
look at the second page where it says the items that were highlighted in bold? Not that. At the top. The items that were highlighted in bold, framework for design excellence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So were those the ones that you were kind of looking at?
Yeah, so I know there are like 10 of them. So I was trying to look for the ones that suit the verse for this particular case. And I know like Darwin, he already like put something that he thought it would be a good fit. So I just, you know, based my research on that. And then I went through like, you know, the city, did my own survey. I realized it was like protected area. Like if you can see here, like this is the side, and what we have at the back is like, you know, like wetlands and all of that. So I thought it would be, you know, nice to do my own research into what we can do here. I never done this before, like for an actual project. So just wanted to look for things that were like I can tell the client and it would make sense for him to apply, and it wouldn't be just like a nice, you know, like a nice story. So after, you know, all my research and all of that, I just
Hold on. So what you're saying is it's not you coming up with some beautiful rhetoric that the AI told you, is what out of all of this financially makes sense for this client that he would want to do because it makes sense financially anyways, right? It's the right thing to do anyways, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. So my solution for that, you know, after, you know, my research and all of that, it was just to come up with, you know, selecting a siding that could help with air pollution, because it will last longer. You wouldn't have to paint it all the time, every now and then, and you know. But again, like this was like my first approach. I don't know, like if this like is the best way to do it. But yeah, that was what I did.
What about the quality of the air? Remember?
Yeah. So for that, so as I mentioned before, this is like really like the wetlands, and all of like the rear of the site is like a preserved area. So the quality of the air there is like really good. So every time, you know, you build something that affects the quality of the air, and you know, every new building makes 23% more air pollution. So because of that, I was trying to come up with a solution that it would be more like friendly for the environment. So I started looking for materials that, you know, help with the something that is called, it's called photocatalytic. So that's like when the sun is looking for the siding. I'm gonna do it in Spanish. It's just easy for me. Se estaba buscando como materiales que fueran como más amigables con el medio ambiente. Y el siding, por lo general, se desgasta súper rápido con el sol. Y en la búsqueda de materiales que fueran amigables con el ambiente, encontré este siding, dos tipos de siding que tienen como una capa de barniz que con el sol no se debilita, que va a permitir eso, que va a ayudar a la calidad del aire porque va a haber menos restos de materiales, va a haber maduración durante el tiempo, no se va a decolorar. Cuando yo le propuse eso al cliente, lo que le dije fue que en 10 años, 3, 5 años, no va a tener que estar pintando su casa, sino que simplemente es un producto que uno viene con garantía porque tiene con esa, viene, o sea, su punto de venta es que dura y dos, no hay que estarlo pintando. O sea, se supone que tiene una tecnología que es amigable con el ambiente por ese lado. Y lo segundo que busqué fue qué tipo, eso, después de una conversación con Darwin y Tim, qué tipo de vegetación hay en el lugar, qué tipo de vegetación se va a traer, porque cuando hacen este tipo de development generalmente hacen landscape design. Entonces la idea era pues mantener la misma vegetación que está ahora mismo preservada. Eso fue prácticamente lo que hicimos. Yo sé que nosotros no somos landscape designer, pero es bueno ponerlo ahí también como una recomendación.
So very ambiguous guidelines were given to Nicole. Very general things. Hey, here's a contract. Look into what makes sense for this project as it relates to the framework. I put a fee onto the contract of like $500. It wasn't much. And when she exhausted the time of the $500 on that, I said, stop there. We're good. And that's it. So now she's moving finally into the construction documents phase, and she's going to say siding X, Y, and Z as a basis of design for the project. Not now I want to know honestly, was it waste time? Was it useful? Did you enjoy it? Do you see the value of it? As a designer, Nicole, I want to know, like, did it take way too much time, and it was very difficult for you? I want to know honestly. You are the first one that's showing it. Tim hasn't shown his, but he's on it too. So I want to know honestly, what do you think about this?
I mean, o sea, sí me gusta, me parece un tema súper interesante. Siento que lo que dijo Tim es verdad, como que es hacer nuestros proyectos un poquito más significativos. Y sobre todo, por ejemplo, en ese proyecto en particular, algo nuevo, hay que pensar en lo que estamos poniendo allá afuera. Sí, no tomó mucho tiempo. Considero que, por ejemplo, si tenemos mucha información, por ejemplo, Tim dijo, pueden acceder a los links de la AIA y son buenos ejemplos, pero creo que serviría más en las pequeñas cosas, como dijo Marcos. Por ejemplo, Marcos dijo como en las pequeñas cosas, en los toilets, en los lavabos, en la pintura, en el piso, que para eso deberíamos de pronto y de pronto yo un poquito con los reps involucrarme más en buscar esas cosas que sean un poquito default, porque son un poquito más fáciles de implementar eh, y más realistas. O sea, por ejemplo, lo del siding, el cliente me dijo, ¿y cuánto cuesta eso? Entonces, si es un developer y no tiene, de pronto no le interesa en 10 años porque ya no va a ser su problema esa casa, le interesa más o es más accesible a comprar un toilet que pueda ahorrar agua, si no hay mucha diferencia económica entre uno que no lo hace. Creo que por ahí sería como la mejor solución y la más realista, pienso yo, en mi opinión.
All right. This is very good. I'm sorry that I put you on the spot, but I'm glad that you were able to put it right there and put it out. You've done excellent. This is nothing less than what I would expect to be done. It didn't take so much time. Didn't take a lot of energy. It's something that you are generally passionate about. That's why we send the poll. If people weren't passionate about anything, they could let me know, and then it is what it is. But all of this is tied into, yes, we are more conscientious about what we're putting out there. So when I mentioned that we are doing it, has everybody seen the new vision boards that we've been sharing? So the new vision board is already predetermining and showing this right here. Which one of these are applicable to you as a client? Which one does the designer thinks are applicable to them? right? So Nicole pointed out these are the things that people picked: energy, economy, integration, resources, equitable. I care about energy and integration, but we as pioneers begin looking into those things, and we're going to be looking into trainings that align with those things, and we're going to give those trainings to you, paid by and brought to you by Flow Design, but also financed by the clients, because we're going to charge them about these things, right? So that was added into our handbook right now, and the goal is that we create a relationship with the materials rep, with the owner, with the contractor, and make sure that this thing is more intentional. It's not arbitrary, it's intentional. We've been sending an email to all of the reps. You guys haven't been seeing it, unfortunately, because we're feeding this little by little to you. But Nicole, you've seen it, the emails to the reps, and we already got some materials rep reply, right?
Yes.
With a list of materials and why they believe are sustainable, right? They want to sell these materials. So we're going to look at their numbers and see if they make sense quickly, but we don't have to do a whole lot of work. It shouldn't be too much work. And I think this presentation is a good fit. I'll do that afterwards, because we're going to talk about, the contracts is there. The trainings are going to be on the YouTube channel. And it's just it's not adding a whole lot, but eventually the goal is to have this nice toolkit of best practices. Julio, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about what Amoplum did with materials? Amoplum, you remember working there?
It's just standardize everything. That's it.
Literally, when Julio started working there, they gave him a little pamphlet and said, we don't use gypsum wallboard, we use this. We don't use X, we use this. That's the goal. That's exactly the goal.
Well, that's the easy thing. I think like it would be the most smooth way to implement this to everybody. It's just to say, hey, from now on, we're going to use this type of sink, this type of toilet, this type of siding, this type of colors, and that's it. I know like there's not a lot of space about design, but in that way, you cover 5 things of the 10.
And
because
maybe that's
to be, oh, sorry.
no, go.
Because sometimes the time is going to be approaching to us, like there are going to be some things like they're going to be very standard, I believe. For some projects, we don't have to start from zero. We just need to say, hey, man, this siding is the one that we're going to use. And that's it.
Honestly, Julio and team, I think that, on our next Flow Organization Day, maybe 1 or 2 people, Nicole, meet with team, and maybe we pick a couple items, might be the toilets in our actual template, and we start incorporating this in our template. That way, when you create a project, now you see what our base of design is, and now we are all implementing it, and eventually you're going to be noticing these things, so I think that will be an easier way to continue.
Exactly. Tim, you pointed out a lot to the AIA website, but we have a folder that we have and that I've shared multiple times. I don't want people to go randomly into and be lost. There's a lot out there, but if we can funnel it into that folder, put little by little document that we actively work on the best practices, that then makes it into, like Marco said, into a Revit template. Believe it or not, a lot of people are using our Fresca floating vanities because we show them and they're like, oh, we'll just do that. Natalie actually did a project in Lynn that the developer literally used the exact same vanities that we showed. Isn't that what we want ultimately? Like, the people do what we want them to do. So we'll do research, but things can't just randomly be making it into our template. They have to go to a vetting process where Julio looks at it, Tim looks at it, I look at it, Marcos looks at it. Is that what we really want to do? Sign it into executive order. Like, that's it, and that's right. Then some of you can be creative with some of these other items. Like, you know what? Now we have a base. Now I can have fun with energy. Now I can have fun with water. It doesn't cost any much time. It's already a sheet that's on our template in Revit, and go, right? That's it. Like you did with the windows. You did all the Pela windows, I think it was. Remember, like we did a whole package. If those windows are the ones we want to use in our projects, we specify those windows in our project. But it's not a lot of work. And I think it doesn't make sense to everybody, guys. Like,
Um, I'm I understand that, and I'm 100% for developing a catalog that we could use, right? It will be much more efficient. It will be easier to do that. But I'm also looking at it from a personal development point of view, as whereas there's one thing for us to do all the research and to put it in a catalog for people to access whenever they need it, right? And it's another thing if you do your own research and you develop your own vocabulary of those things and you're able to better understand it, how to use it. It will limit the amount of times we get questions if people fully understand these topics. Because Darwin, I can guarantee you there is a couple of things that we are doing today that have become muscle memory that people don't know why we're doing it, right? You pick a vanity, you put it there. Why? Right? So I'm approaching it from a personal development point of view, whereas I'm urging people to do their own research. However, I am still up for having a catalog.
No, I agree. I'm teaching a Revit class, and in the Revit class, I was telling them, like, you guys have this Revit template that comes with Revit stuff, but Flow has a template that already has all of these things, and people don't know why they're there. People don't know where did they come from, right? And I'm teaching them how to manipulate it and edit it. So that's why when we did the poll of the things that people care about, that's why we're gonna be tying it into that personal development. And the way I presented it on that session there is that raises and bonuses go into that personal development side. If someone just wants to never get licensed as an architect and wants to develop themselves into these areas and be an expert on these areas, they have every right to get raises and they have every right to get bonuses for it and be recognized because they're pushing the profession and our company as a whole. So, but it is an individualistic thing. So that's why we want to standardize some elements. And if, let's say, you're just throwing a name, and although Junior's not a designer, but if Junior wants to just do what's the basic package, right? It's good that I use Junior because he wouldn't feel bad about it. That's it. But if Jose Playtest wants to really look into discovery and do analysis of what happens after our projects are finished and bring that information back to, hey, that siting didn't perform that way, let's use it. Discovery is looking into those things. Then he's a champion. So when we give bonuses and awards at the end of the year, it won't be just me and Marcos looking at who do we give, who was the existing condition champion? No. It's obvious that these people were champions in all of these areas. Because we can't force people to go get licensed as an architect. We can't force people to get Green LEED certified. We can't force people to, but we want the company to continue to grow. So you opt into, Nicole cares about ecosystems. She clearly cares about ecosystems right there, right? And all of us looked at what she did and we can't fight it. Like that was decent, reasonable, and prudent, and it was well put together, right? So, if Tim is looking at equitable communities, he creates some things, and we will do I think that's the approach. We'll do these sessions, we'll introduce them, we'll have a moment to vote on what we feel, all of us as a company. You don't have that in any other company. So, and said, yeah, that's true. That siting is a good product. It's not because such and such is selling it to us. We believe in that. That's what we're going to be using. That solar panel style, that's a good start. We're going to be using that. We'll present it. And he makes it to the template so that you don't just randomly have things in the template that you don't know where they came from either, right? So that's really good. But we're putting team as the leader on this side because it's good to have a centralized in one place that then makes it into Julio, me, and Marcos, and then he makes it into the entire template, into the entire Revit. This is a very good meeting, very good meeting. But I think now everybody kind of is getting why, the full design process, if you see the package, is already changing our template. So it has this in it. So and little bit, it's more rewarding than a 9-to-5 job that you just copy and repeat the same things. The products and the results are going to be a little bit more custom. It's not this fast food restaurant that keeps giving burgers the same way to everybody. It's every project's going to have something a little bit more meaningful to them. So that's the ultimate goal. Anybody in the DR? Any comments? Last minute remarks? All right. Thank you, everybody. This is going to be provided to all of you. It's a recorded session, and you can watch it whenever you want. Thank you, everybody, for doing this. Let's keep flowing. Bye-bye.